One of the most important things that we need to worry about as entrepreneurs is getting people on our mailing lists. Our lead generation is incredibly important because at any given point, our social media could disappear and we could lose our audience. So making sure that we own our own leads is essential to our survival as an entrepreneur. But lead generation can be a little interesting. So today we're talking with Jennie Wright. She is a lead gen expert and she's going to be breaking down how to create a really good lead magnet and then optimize it for better conversions. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, I'm Jennie Wright. I'm a list build and lead generation specialist. I'm really excited to be here. One of the things that I focus on is creating high conversion and converting from your lead magnets into the sale as well as your funnels. And we're going to have a discussion about that today. I'm really excited.
I am really excited because we talk about lead magnets and our funnels all the time here on the platform. And so for people who are just jumping in, can you actually define what a lead magnet is for us?
Absolutely. So a lead magnet is your little piece of something on the web. It could be a PDF download, an ebook, it could be a checklist or a video series. It's something that people will give their name and email in return for to receive that piece of information. It should be of high value, something that people can use. It solves usually a small problem that they are experiencing, and it gives people a way to connect with you in the future. And the main goal is to get people on your email list.
And today we're talking about how we can create these for better conversion. So I know you see a lot of very interesting lead magnets, some interesting funnels, but there are things that we can do to take this to a more productive level. So what do we need to know?
It's an amazing question. So what we need to know is that we just can't slap up a PDF and expect the sales to start rolling in. What we really need to do is to think through the process. And that starts with really niching down to your ideal client and then creating the thing that they need that's going to help them along their journey. Every potential client or customer is on their own journey, and your lead magnet should meet them a little bit in where they are to help them along the way. And it could be something as simple as I was saying earlier, like a PDF or a checklist or an ebook or a video series. But you really need to think what is the best thing for your audience. A PDF isn't necessarily what everybody needs, and a video series isn't necessarily what everybody needs. But what I will tell people is to start with something that is simple to create so that you have something. And then what we like to have with a lead magnet is we're just trying to get people on our email lists, right? But we have to be making sure that we're creating the right journey for them, as I was saying, getting them in there, and then making sure that we give them an opportunity to get to know us better so we can then present an offer in the not so distant future.
Okay, so let's break this down. Once we've created a lead magnet, whether it's a PDF or a video series or something that kind of onboards them into our businesses, we know that we need to then set this inside of a funnel so that we're creating content, so that we're having conversations with people throughout the course of these newsletters. So talk to me about funnels. What do we need to know?
Funnels are exactly what you think of when you think of like a kitchen funnel or a funnel that you pour oil in to get into your car. It's got a wide mouth and a very narrow bottom. The whole goal is to attract your ideal client at the top and slowly bring them along a journey so that at the end they make a decision. Either they purchase from you or they leave the funnel completely. And in the growing of your business, you're going to have multiple funnels. So your lead magnet is a funnel, a sales page is a funnel, your newsletters are considering part of your funnel as well. And so when we're building that, our lead magnet's usually at the top, and then we start getting them to get to know us, and those are the next steps. And we're slowly funneling our way down through newsletters, things like webinars, sales letters, videos, things like that. Even if you're sharing like a podcast that you've been on, that's all part of it. And your call to action are essential. So don't forget that when we're doing this, we're funneling them down to the end goal, which could be your course or your program. So starting simple, most businesses just start really simple with a lead magnet, which leads to your newsletter or your email list. And then you're getting them to make micro decisions on consuming more of your content. And when it feels comfortable for you and for them, depending where they are in their journey, you make an offer and hopefully convert them. And if you don't, and they either stay on your list or they leave.
So at that point, how can we look at the funnels and the systems that we've set up and really identify where things are working and not working?
There's a lot of indicators. So every email marketing system that you'll use, I personally use ActiveCampaign, has lots of reports. The reports detail all the different things that people are doing within your ecosystem. And that would be how often they're opening an email, whether or not they're clicking, what they're consuming, things of that nature. And the same goes for your landing pages. I use ClickFunnels. What we can see from the metrics of things is how many people are looking at the page, how many people are opting in and taking action from that page, and then what are they doing next? So here's a wonderful example. Let's just say we created a checklist. You and I have created a checklist, how to ABC XYZ, great. And we put it on a ClickFunnels page. The conversion from that and the action that people take would be to look at that page and opt in. My goal is always to have a 50% or higher opt-in rate, which means if 100 people land on the page, 50 of them will say, yes, please, I'll take that PDF that you two ladies have created, and they'll enter their name and email to receive it. That means they're on our email list now, right? So 50% is my personal preferred conversion rate. Then we're sending out newsletters. Now, the things that we can improve upon are things like the opt-in pages, whether or not they look nice and they work well. I mean, that's a big thing. Additionally, we're looking at things like the subject lines of our emails and how those are hitting. So I like to, it's a bit of a test, right? So you send out a bunch of emails and you'll see how people react to your subject lines. Some subject lines will hit better and some will not. My personal list likes emojis and also really straight to the point headlines, none of the fluffy stuff and none of the clickbaity stuff, right? So that's an opportunity that I take with my audience. The other thing is having really good calls to action and specifically not doing too many. I opened an email from a potential client a couple months ago. She had 8 calls to action, which means there was 8 links to click in the email. So what do people do when there's too many things to do? They click on nothing, right? So they won't touch a thing. And that worked against them. They thought it was great. They're like, oh, I've got 8 things in here. They're just gonna click on something. No, they clicked on absolutely nothing. So that's another thing to look at is how many links that you have in an email like that, really keeping it tight and concise and maybe having one call to action. The last thing that we need to look at is how you're speaking to people and how often you're promoting. If somebody registers for our joint PDF checklist, gets on our list and we're emailing them, and the only thing they hear is promotional emails, sales emails, it's not the right tactic. We haven't gotten to know them, we haven't developed a relationship, and they're eventually going to just say, look, you know what, every time I open an email from you two, all it is something to sell me a program, product, or service. I'm really not interested in that right now. I don't even know who you guys are. I don't trust you yet. I'm out. And they'll either completely just go dead, meaning they won't even open the emails, or they'll unsubscribe from your list. So when we're trying to get better conversions, the goal is to look at all of these things and make micro adjustments so that we're bettering the funnel, we're bettering the page, we're bettering our emails, we're hyper tuning into the customer journey, making sure we're doing the right moves. All of that adds up to better conversion.
And I love that you said we should be making micro adjustments, these little things to tweak and test and see if it's going to improve what we're doing. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel or do the whole thing over again. So with that in mind, as we are monitoring what we're creating and how it's being relational to the people who are jumping into our list, how often should we be making these micro corrections, or how often should we be looking at our statistics to see if we need to do some kind of overhaul?
Fantastic question. And I took a second to think about it because I wanted to make sure I answered it really succinctly. So it depends on the frequency of how much you're actually sending out. If you're only sending an email out once every 2 weeks, then we can't really look at the data more often than that. So what I recommend is if you send an email on a Monday or a Tuesday to your list, that you don't take a look at the metrics for that email until Thursday or Friday. Give it a couple days to percolate for people to open it, receive it, and connect with it and interact with it before you start looking at your reports. In terms of a funnel and trying to update the page, we need traffic to that page. So if I create a landing page and it's for your upcoming webinar, and the only people who have looked at the page are you, me, and your sister, chances are it's not enough traffic for us to actually make a determination of whether or not the page needs to be updated. we need to send some traffic to it, cold and warm. So if you're running ads, that's cold traffic. If you're running it, posts from your Instagram or even your email list, that's warmer traffic. And we need probably about 4 or 5 days of consistent traffic to be able to take a look at it and say, okay, this is working, maybe we update this and that. And what that looks like is not reinventing the wheel. Again, micro adjustments. We create what's called an A/B test. That is where we create a version of the opt-in page or the landing page or whatever it is, and make those micro tweaks. And then we send traffic to both, and we see which one wins. Now, a lot of the programs, products, and softwares that we use these days, like ClickFunnels and other landing page softwares, allow us to create A/B tests. Okay, so we don't have to go and create something new or buy a new software. This is just within the software itself. And we send 50-50 traffic to both pages. We see which one hits better, and then we reward the one with the better conversion rate, and we make it the only one that gets traffic. And that's one of the ways that we can really maximize on our landing pages.
And I like that we're discussing those opt-in pages, the landing pages, because I feel like this is one of the things where we feel like we can just toss anything up and people will come and they'll grab the freebies. So let's kind of break down some best practices for that. What really is going to convert better for us, and what things should we avoid?
How much time do you have? Seriously, this is a whole thing, and I talk about this on the podcast that I do, and I talk about this with my clients and stuff. But the real short message on this is, one is the branding, okay? The other is fonts. Funny enough, fonts drive people insane, and it's something that you don't even know you're doing. So don't choose a super fun squirrely font just for the sake of being fun and different. Think about who your ideal client is. Now, I had a client once whose ideal client was a clientele that was very light and fun and young and vibrant. And so having tons of colors and tons of cool things on the page was part of her ideal client. That's not going to go over for somebody who's in finance, as an example, right? So you really have to know your ideal client. But what's going to make a page convert is there is actually a formula. And it always starts with an attention-grabbing headline. And we call that the big, bold promise. So the big, bold promise is, 5 ways or four things to help grow your email list in the next 60 days to sell more online courses. That's my big, bold promise. And then underneath that, I will requalify that with another tagline that gives people a little bit more information. Then I'm going to create what's called connection copy. And everybody omits this from the page, but it's one of the most important things you should do is connection copy, which is where we relate. We say, hey, look, I had this problem too. I couldn't do this. I struggled with this until I figured out this system, and I want to share it with you. And you're going to learn, or you'll discover 3 awesome things, 1, 2, and 3. And come join me for my free webinar on the whatever. Click on the button and register. And then people usually stop there, if they do connection copy at all. But there's one other thing they're missing, and that is your bio. Always put your bio on the landing page. Who the heck are you, and why should I register for your webinar? So put your bio on the page, put it in first person. Hey, I'm Jennie, I'm a list build and lead generation specialist. And one of my superpowers is helping to build beautiful, gorgeous lists of buyers. And I'm really excited to share this training, blah, blah, blah. Click on the button below, let's get going, join the webinar, right? So it's how people get to know you. And those are the big important, I'm really going quickly on this, but those are the big things that can create a difference in the landing page opt-in rate that we were talking about earlier. Those are the things that can get you a 3% increase, a 5% increase. Pages with bios, 5%, right off the top. Pages with connection copy, add in 10%. I'm not kidding you. This stuff kicks butt. And if you're good on video, or if you're getting good at video, you don't have to be perfect, okay? This is not like Hollywood stuff, but if you're pretty good on video, adding a video to a landing page can add 5 conversion points to a landing page. So that's the quickest breakdown I can do.
I love that. And we have all the resources on video content creation here on the channel. So hit that subscribe and notification bell if you haven't. We're going to link all of Jennie's links down below for you as well, so that you can access her podcast and all of her great resources as well. So now that we've established that we need a really good, strong opt-in page, we need to make sure that we have a lead magnet that's actually going to benefit people and then drive them into our business. And we're creating that connection with them through our funnel system. I want to talk just a little bit about how many lead magnets should we have, because as business owners, a lot of people think one and done and they can move on with their life. They never check back in, they never update it, they never change it. So what do you think in terms of how many we should have, how often we should be updating it? What do we need to know?
Okay, this is a good one. So my rule of thumb is a minimum of 3. Now it's not 3 to start. It's 3 as you can do it within the first, maybe year or so in your business. The first one is the most essential one, and that's the one that you put on your website, or that you can link in your bio from Instagram and you can put on Linktree or something. That is that essential, quintessential opt-in, enter your name and email and get this PDF download. It's something that you can create that's quick. Again, not like throwing spaghetti at the wall kind of stuff, but quick and easy and gets the job done well. And then the second one is you want to look at the different ways that people are learning information. And the second one should push a little bit. It should push you out your comfort zone a little bit. I really think that creating a video download or a video series, like a 4-step video series, I think video is essential. It's how people get to know us, and you know that more than anybody. So I really think that having a video series is key, or I like to have an on-demand training. So I have 4 lead magnets right now, and one of them is an on-demand training. The third one that I like to have is one that I can offer off of podcasts. And I liked, because I believe heavily in growing your leads through being on other people's audiences. I call that OPA, other people's audiences, and I believe strongly in doing that. And I love having a juicy lead magnet to offer off of those. And that can be, and I usually use one of my on-demand classes that I do, or I have various checklists. So when in doubt, start with 1, reach for 3, 1 on your website for sure. One that one that's nice and juicy for podcasts that can be on your website, but is not so quick to find. Like, it shouldn't be the main one on your website. That's for everybody. The one on the podcast is a little bit juicier and a little bit more unique and niched in. And then the third one I love to have as something I can pull out when I need to. I usually give that one on summits and things like that. And that's usually like an on-demand webinar.
Fantastic. Now, for some of these lead magnets, they will be evergreen. It's not something you're going to have to update all of the time. But let's say things are a little bit more timely. How often will we look at that to update it?
The rule of thumb that I find, at least depending on your industry, like if you're talking cryptocurrency and that's your thing, you're updating it all the time, okay? Let's just be honest, because that is like a movable market.
Yes.
But if you're in marketing, if you're in, if you're a love coach, if you're a health coach, the rule of thumb that I say is take a look at your lead magnets at least once every couple of quarters and just make sure it's okay. The longest that I would leave a lead magnet is about 2 years max. I don't really want people to go much further than that. If you've left it for more, it's probably outdated, probably needs a refresh, at least on the look and the feel, as well as some of the internal components might need to be updated, especially things like your confirmation email and things like that. Because we change, right? Two years ago, my business looked different. 2 years from now, it'll look completely different, right? So we want to create things that do have that staying power, but that can be updated probably within that time. I look at all of my magnets I recommend my clients do probably about once every 2 quarters.
That makes sense. I love this. This is such a fantastic conversation about creating those connections with our audience and really building that outreach for them, and to make sure we're having those conversations with them so we can build up that trust and then make those sales. So as we're wrapping up today's conversation, what else do we need to know about our lead magnets and funnels?
Do them. Make them. Even if you're tech adverse and that's the thing that's holding you back, then remove that block. Find somebody to assist you and help you and support you in making the lead magnet. It doesn't have to break the bank. It just needs to be done in a way that is suitable and looks really good. And sometimes if you're not Canva technical, then get somebody who is. And if you can't build a landing page, find somebody who can, as opposed to making that the blockade. And focus on the content. So those are my big 2 things. Create amazing content and don't let anything stand in your way to get it done.
Perfect. And we have tutorials on how to create these opt-in pages here on the channel. We'll link those down below for you as well. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge today. Where can everybody connect with you online?
I'm really easy to find. There's not many Jennie Wrights out there. Jennie with an IE, by the way. So you can go to jennywright.com is probably the quickest way. If you're catching this sooner rather than later, then it's still under a redesign, but it'll be done soon. And you can always find me on Instagram. It's Jennie L. Wright, and that's probably one of the easiest ways. Or also LinkedIn. It's Jennie, I think it's Jennie Wright JLW on LinkedIn. So come and find me there.
Now, if you have questions on lead generation, go ahead and let us know down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell because Jennie is coming back to talk all about creating virtual summits. This is something we love talking about here, especially in the world of live streaming, and this is one that you do not want to miss. So if you're ready to level up and perhaps run your own virtual con this year, this is going to be an episode for you. Drop your questions on this down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.